Hello, so today I'm going to be walking you through our Azure data processing pipeline. It's a project that we've been working on for the last few months at Sophron.io. Basically, what we're going to do is we take in book data in the form of JSON, and then we want to transform it, make sure it's valid, and then pass it to a database to store it. So first, we're going to begin with just a simple walkthrough of a higher level concept of what our pipeline looks like. In this photo here, you can see that we have book data represented by the circle. We're going to pass it to an Azure function. And in this function, we're going to transform, parse, and filter this file. Basically, we're going to split the books into two categories, valid books and invalid books, as well as reformat the data to better match what we want. And once this is done, we're going to send every book out individually into an Azure Queue function. And we send it into Azure Queue functions in order for scalability. As you can see here, there's Q1, Q2, ... These are stacked vertically to represent multiple queue functions running at a time. And we did this because calls to a database typically are very time intensive and take a long time. So if we have multiple queues only running one book at a time, we can turn a long running process into a shorter, more tight-knit process. All right, so now we'll get down into the more specifics. Here's the entire container for our logic app. Basically, what we made was an API that you can send your book data to, put book data to. It's called book pipe up here. Pretty good name. So here, you would hit the endpoint with a HTTP request, the post URL right there. And then once it receives that post URL, you'd hit it with some book data. It'll go to an Azure function called blob process. Basically, this processes the Azure data and transforms it, makes sure the JSON is valid, and then actually sends it to our book trigger. In our book trigger here, this is this block right here. This is where it actually splits up each book individually, labels it as success or invalid, and then from here it'll send out each book to the queue. All right, here's one of our queues, the success queue. You can see that it has its respective partner in the fail queue. So from these queues, it'll send out books to the Azure database, which is right here. We're using Cosmos database because it's pretty flexible with how much we want to put in and put out. Right now, we only have 4,000 RUs as max throughput. We left it at this cap for testing purposes, as we know it's scalable and we want to keep the cost cheap and efficient. All right, so that was all the backend stuff. Here we actually have a place where you can upload the file and a front end to contact our app. We made this app using Flask and React. We chose React because we wanted to show continuous updates on how much your pipe is uploading to the database, as well as make it a cool little loading screen. And we're using Flask, as you can see right here. We're using Flask to actually hit our logic app and send the data that we need. So we might as well go ahead and end up sending it now. So we're going to open up our desired JSON file. This JSON file will contain about 11,000 different books. So we're going to hit the upload button, and right now what's happening is it's sending the book data over to that endpoint, and once it hits that endpoint, if you remember the diagram, it will go into blob process, and once from blob process it goes to book trigger. But all you see here is a loading bar, and right now it's at 0 because it's still moving through blob process, but in about 20 seconds we'll be able to see that, yep. So right now it's being sent to the queues. So this is the number of books that's being sent to the queue for processing. And there we go. And that's the number of items left to store in the queue. And this one typically takes about 8 to 10 minutes. So we won't record all of that. But for some statistics, we can see here that so now here we can see that the queues have started processing some of our books to the database. There's a little graph to show. It's doing pretty good. It's in about 8 to 5 minutes, and it's processed already 2,000 books. And then we can see here to our Cosmos database, the total number of requests in the last hour has about 10,000. So we can see that the books are processing well and quickly. Finally, we check our React app and notice that it is starting to process the books and the bar is going down. For more information on our Sophron book pipeline, you can find the documentation on our README on our GitLab. Thank you for watching.